Joining us here on the Locked On Seahawks podcast, he is a 9-time All-Pro selection, the tackling king for the Seahawks, and of course a voice actor on the new Ninja Turtles movie that is coming out. Bobby Wagner joining us here on the show. Bobby, thanks for jumping on and looking forward to discussing your newest initiative here with the Prevent campaign.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So let's discuss this. Obviously, in the Pacific Northwest, the last few years, unless you've been hiding under a rock, you know how much smoke there's been and unhealthy air and tons of wildfires. It's been a prevalent issue throughout the United States, but especially in the Pacific Northwest. And most of these fires are man-made. So you were teaming up with USAA and the Renton Fire Department for the Prevent Defense campaign. Can you take me through what the initiative is, how you got set up with it, and what your goals are working with USAA and the Renton Fire Department?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to really educate and, spread knowledge. I think a lot of times people don't understand that because it rains a lot that we don't have this issue. But it is a real issue. It's something that happens all the time. It's something that we can prevent. I think, like you said, like 98% of the people or 98% of the wildfires are caused by humans. And so, there's a part that we can play. I think the biggest thing is to try to protect our city that we love. And this is one way to do it. And I love, partner up with USAA and the Renton Fire Department to make this happen.
And I know that you met with the fire department, did a meet and greet as well. How was that process for you, being able to pay it forward for firefighters? And we know the value of public service workers in general, but what has that process been like for you, being able to give back to the people that we view as the real heroes with the work that they do?
It was really cool because, a lot of times they don't get the acknowledgement that they should. And so to be able to come out here and really, show love and support and show how grateful we are for their services was really cool.
Let's talk a little bit of football, shall we? I know that at the linebacker position, you coming back to Seattle, and you played with Jordan Brooks for a couple of years before you went to LA for a season, and he comes back, basically miracle worker, less than 8 months after his torn ACL. He's back on the field. What have you seen from him in this miraculous return here, these first 4 games? And where has he shown the most growth in your mind compared to those first 2 years when you got to play with him?
I mean, he's been amazing. You're watching him play. He's fast. He's physical. He's making plays in the backfield. Got 2 sacks the other night. Like, he's all over the field. And I don't think anybody expected him to have this type of production coming off an injury that he was coming off of. But it just says to his work that he put in the offseason. And I think he's gotten so much smarter. Obviously the first couple of years, you got to understand, I think COVID was his first year or somewhere around that. So he didn't get a real offseason. And then that following offseason wasn't really a real one either. And so there's a lot of plays that, he had to learn on the fly or things that he had to do on the fly. And so he's done a tremendous job, and it's been really, really fun to be playing alongside of him.
You got to play for Clint Hurtt in a little different role earlier in your career when he was playing the defensive line coach, and you got some association with him. But then you come back, he's the defensive coordinator. In your brief time that you've been playing for him in that role, how have you seen him grow as a play caller? In year 2, it does seem like he's a lot more comfortable in that role than what he was last year, his first time being a play caller, I think, at any level.
Yeah, I think, last year it wasn't only his first time, but he also had a lot of young players. So it was, his first time, and then trying to figure out, how to get everybody on the same page, especially these young guys getting their first experience. And, I think Jordan was moving to a new position. So there's a lot of stuff going on, but he's done a great job. I think he's really, really smart. I always appreciate his smartness, even as a D-line coach, understand run fits, understand the pass concepts. And I think the more and more, he gets used to calling everything, the better Barry gets.
I'm always curious talking to players, especially somebody that's got the accolades that you have, Bobby, talking about PFF and all these other outlets out there, the evaluations that they put out on players each week. And Quandre Diggs, we've had some very candid conversations about this, misconceptions of the safety position, what casual fans or even these evaluators, what they're watching. From the linebacker position perspective, what do you think is the biggest misconception in terms of how these outlets evaluate the position or their understanding of how the position is played?
I think the biggest thing that I always had, not an issue, but something with was just, how they calculated like catches. There was a year where they said, I gave up a lot of catches, but a lot of it was me hustling to the ball or me trying to get to the ball. So they, counted the yardage towards myself. But, I think over the years, they've done a good job of just trying to understand. A lot of it is just, you have to feed the computer the right information. And, we can either run from it or embrace it. Like, it's going to be here. They're going to get better each year. And I feel like it's done that.
How much value do those things have for you as a player? I know that a lot of players pay attention to it. There's some that say they don't, and then they reference stats. Like, I believe it was Uchenna Nwosu the other day that said 36 pressures, and I think Pro Football Focus was the one that listed that in the Panthers game. But it's an imperfect science, but how much does that play into what players do as far as preparation for a week or looking back at games, at least the advanced data?
I don't know if people like look at it as far as preparation for a game. I think you might pay attention to it after the game to see what they think or whatever the case may be, because, coaches look at it, guys like yourself look at it and they reference it. And so when it's good in your favor, you like it. When it's not good in your favor, you hate it. So it's a love-hate relationship.
Speaking of putting out fires, last year the Seahawks run defense was 30th overall. It was one of the worst in the league. You guys right now are ranked third in yards per carry allowed. I believe it's 3.2 yards per carry, and some of that's with some of those Daniel Jones runs the other day late in the game that's kind of boosted that. You guys were under 3 going into that game against the Giants. You look at where this defense is at, being the man in the middle, the leader in the middle. What are you seeing? You've mentioned the gap integrity and playing better with the gaps, but what are you seeing big picture from front to back with the defense that really is elevating the play, defending the run, not just shutting down running backs, but also playing athletic quarterbacks like Daniel Jones?
I think it's just trust. I think, you're seeing more and more guys trust one another, trust they're going to be where they're supposed to be. Like I said, last year it might have been, a lot of young guys just, trying to, learn and understand what it takes to be in this league, and all of that plays a part in everything. So, a lot of those guys have a year in their belt. Obviously bringing myself back, me and Jordan played with each other, so we have that chemistry. And so a lot of it is just trust, and you can see that.
You're coming off a performance where you guys gave up under 285 yards, just 3 points. You mentioned the youth on this roster. You got a lot of rookies like Devin Witherspoon that are playing extensive roles on this defense, but you've also got veterans like yourself. You've been around some of the best defenses that have played in the game earlier in your career. What do you think the ceiling is for this defense going into the meat of your guys' schedule? And what does that next step look like for you guys coming off the best game you've had easily all year on Monday night?
I think we just got to turn into consistency. We have to do that. Like what we did last week, we have to do it again and do it again. And I think that's what, makes a really, really good defense. Like, you understand what you're going to get from them every single time you watch them play. And, we've done it a little bit. We've gotten better over the course of the season, but we have to have it as a consistent level. And once we do that, I feel like then we can start talking about how great we can be.
We want to thank you, Bobby, for coming on the show. Greatly appreciate it. And best of luck with the Prevent Defense campaign. That's clearly an important issue that we need to be informing people about, especially in the Pacific Northwest with all the wildfires that we have and just the way that things have changed in that regard.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate you.